everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome to the very last One Piece chapter review of 2020. But before we get into that, I have to give a very special thanks to every single person that donated and helped me out with, and even just showed up and participated in my charity drive that I did yesterday for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We raised a grand total of over $15,000 for this charity for St. Jude. It's going to help out a lot of kids and their families, and that just blew me away of how much we raised, because last year we only raised $8,000. Not to say only, that was a lot of money, $8,000 last year, so I was thinking maybe close to $10,000 this year I really wanted to hit, but we just went right past that. We went to 11, 12, 13. I thought we were going to stop at 14, but no. By the end of the stream, we had over $15,000, like $15,100 something dollars that we raised for St. Jude. So I wanted to thank everybody for that. If you would like to check out the stream in its entirety, I'll leave a link below, as also a link to donate. So if you missed the stream, if you haven't donated, you can still donate through the link below. But this was an insanely successful charity stream, and I'll be doing this every year around Christmas time. So yeah, let's keep it rolling. But thanks to every single person that donated and showed up and helped me out with this. O'Hara, Kaio, Rustage stopped by and chatted with me for a little while. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Barry. Barry showed up. So it was a great experience. But with that all being said, now let's move on to One Piece chapter. What chapter are we actually on? I forgot. I'm sorry. There was a lot of hype going on. We're at chapter 999. 999? 999? 999? 999? 999? 999? 999? 900? Okay, I'm good, seriously, it's a lot to take in, guys. Okay, this will be One Piece chapter 999, titled, The Sake I Brewed to Drink With You. And this is really cool, because it's chapter 999, One Piece is, of course, the cover on Shonen Jump. I think I can show you that much, because it's just the cover of the magazine, right? And so we got the cover of this edition of Shonen Jump, 999, and then when chapter 1000 comes out, it'll also continue the cover. So if you take both of these covers and put them together in their entirety, it'll have a big spread with Luffy being in the center. So we only see half of Luffy's face in this one, shooting the peace sign. And then behind him, as part of the magazine's cover, and I have to mention this, we have a bunch of other mangaka that are serialized in Shonen Jump, drawing their respective characters with One Piece characters in their own style. So I love that. So I'm not going to go through every single one, because I honestly don't read every single series in Shonen Jump. I apologize. But the ones I wanted to bring up are, you have Horikoshi, the mangaka of My Hero Academia, of course, drawing Deku alongside Don Krieg. Don Krieg! And I love that, because it's basically like Krieg is just like grabbing Deku, like, come here, kid, we're doing a picture for the magazine, get over here! And Krieg is just like grabbing Deku, and Deku's like, oh, okay, large man with mutton chops and then the gas mask, okay, that's cool. And so that's really neat. You have Boichi, the artist for Dr. Stone. Of course, Inagaki sensei is the one that draws Dr. Stone, but Boichi drew Senku alongside Ace. That makes perfect sense, because the Ace light novels written by Sho Hinata were drawn by Boichi. Boichi drew the Ace light novel, and that looked really cool. And so, of course, it makes sense that he would draw Ace alongside Senku. We have I don't know all the mangaka's names, I apologize, but the mangaka for Mashal drew Mash alongside Bellamy. Just did a Bellamy video last week, so that's topical. And the mangaka for We Never Learn drew Nariyuki next to Boa Hancock. So that works. I love that. And We Never Learn actually ended. I just read the last chapter of the series, so that's how We Never Learn ends. I don't mean to spoil it, but yeah, Nariyuki runs into Boa Hancock, and at that point, the series just ends. There's a bunch of other series on here, and then the rest of the series that aren't included, like Black Clover, isn't on this cover. Black Clover with Tabata will appear in the next cover, okay? And then it'll be put together, and you'll have this really cool full spread. And I think the full spread has actually already been revealed, but I'll get to that when we get to chapter 1000. Okay, so moving on now to the actual chapter number 999. So just like it was set up last time, we start off with a flashback when the time that Ace was in Wano. We don't know the whole story of Ace and his journey to Wano. We know he went there, we know he met Tama, that part we know, and we also know he learned how to make the Casa hat for later for oars, but his whole story has never really been explored, and there's still bits and pieces that we don't understand, but this kind of gives us, the main picture here, what we're really talking about here. Okay, so Ace meets Tama, and I guess one of the big things that was happening when Ace was there was a bunch of children were being kidnapped all over Wano and being taken to Onigashima, all right? For what exact purpose? I'm not really sure where this was going here. Maybe to be recruited into Kaido's force, or something like that, or, you know, maybe become, like, you know, smile users against their will or something. I'm not really sure. But there were a bunch of kids that were at Onigashima, okay? So Ace is like, and keep in mind, this was back before Ace was a member of the Whitebeard crew, okay? Ace is just with his regular spade pirates here. Their ship is the Peace of Spadil. I think that's how you pronounce that. And we actually get to see a lot of the members of the spade pirates in this chapter. We don't get to see Deuce. At least I don't think we get to see Deuce. He might be way in the back. We do get to see Skull in one panel and Mihar in another. We get to see Hublot, the guy with the giant gun. And there's two women on his crew. One is Banshee and one is, I think it was like Cordelia or something. It started with a C, and we get to see her. But at any rate, we open up on Onigashima. Ace has arrived on the island, and his crew are freaking out. They're like, Captain Ace, we should just get out of here. But actually, Ace is engaged in pitched combat with Yamato right at this moment. So they are clashing in the midst of the festival hall at Onigashima. Keep in mind, this is not during the Fire Festival or anything, so the festival hall is just there. It's not like a big crazy party's going on. Ace apparently just barged in with his crew and just Fire Fist! Fire Fist! Fire Fist! And just torched the entire hall, and a bunch of the members of Kaido's crew, like the pleasures and the waiters and all the lower ranked members, are just strewn out all over the damn hall, like passed out and burned, and Ace is now clashing with Yamato, and they seem to be pretty much on even keel here. And Ace is like, identify yourself! Boom! And Yamato's like, you first! Bam! And they're just clashing, and the crew, the spade pirates, are freaking out, and Ace doesn't, in fact, announce himself first. He says, I'm Ace, and I'm here for Kaido's head. And he clashes with Yamato, and we can even see on Ace's back, he doesn't have the Whitebeard tattoo yet, which is a clear indication of, you know, him not being part of the crew yet. I was trying to figure out the exact timeline on when this would have occurred. The best I can gather, best guess, is this took place somewhere 3 to 4 years ago. Because Ace left Fuchsia Village 3 years before Luffy did, which that means he left Fuchsia Village 5 years before the current storyline. He died 2 years ago at Marineford. We don't have an exact timeline on, like, exactly when he joined the Whitebeard crew and, you know, when he departed to go look for Blackbeard and everything after Thatch died. But yeah, I'm going to assume, considering how fast Luffy and the Straw Hats have made it through the Grand Line, like, they managed to make it through the first half of the Grand Line in less than a year. And I don't think Ace did the same 2-year training arc that the Straw Hats did, right? So they just went right through the first half of the Grand Line and then just kind of dived right into the new world. So this could be happening, I think, anywhere from 3 to 4 years ago, before Ace joined the Whitebeard crew. This is like probably right before that, like right before he joined the Whitebeard crew. This is when he arrived at Wano, and shortly after he had the run-in with Jinbei, and they fought, and then, you know, Whitebeard showed up, right? Right, and so Yamato then announces something that we've all been curious about, like, okay, well, where's Kaido at? Where are the calamities at when this is all going on, when Ace is just rampaging through the castle? And Yamato states that Father is away on an expedition with all of the higher-ranked members of the crew. You won't find any of the officers here. It's just me and just, like, you know, the random foot soldiers of the crew, basically. Probably a few headliners, but Ace is, like, well above their level at this point. All the really strong members. In fact, we see Babanuki later on, so yeah, some of the headliners are there. But we don't see any of the Calamities or the Tobiropo or Kaido himself. So I'm assuming Kaido took Calamities and all the Tobiropo away on an expedition, leaving Onigashima relatively defenseless. I mean, I know you got a lot of the headliners, and Yamato's there, and but Yamato even says later on, like, I have no obligation to protect this palace. You know, it's not like Kaido knows that Yamato, I keep saying I want to say Yamamoto, like from Bleach, but Kaido knows that Yamato, you know, is kind of like rebelling against him and doesn't like him very much, and so, you know, Kaido did not give Yamato the order of, like, you will protect this castle in Onigashima with your life, and Yamato's like, yes, father, like, nothing like that. So Yamato states, you know, I have no obligation to protect this place or anything, but, you know, you seem pretty strong, so I'm just gonna get into a fight with you here, and, you know, that's something that should pass the time, if anything else. But yeah, I wonder what expedition Yamato is referring to here with Kaido. Like, seriously, like, he grabs, like, it's one thing for Kaido to go out to sea and maybe take, like, King with him or something, but to take all of the calamities, all of the Tobiroppo, all of the heaviest hitters that he has to offer, what expedition? Like, are we talking, like, an expedition to try to find the last remaining road poneglyph? Or, you know, to gather intel on the other Yonko? Like, it must have been something really, really, really freaking important, right? So, I have no idea what that's all about there. That might also, I don't even know if it's ever really going to be explained. I feel like it probably has to be explained, because it is rather convenient that the exact time Ace shows up, you know, Kaido, not just Kaido, but all of the strongest members of his crew are just out of town for that weekend. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, be back Monday, Yamato, you watch the place, or not, whatever. And then he just leaves, right? So, I'm not sure what the expedition is about, but there must be something very critically important, and we'll probably find out about that later. Other than trying to locate, like, the last road poneglyph, like, maybe every few years, every few months, Kaido is like, you know what, we're gonna find that last one, and maybe he got a lead, because he knows one is in the hands of Big Mom, and, well, maybe they were trying to find out, maybe this is where that led them to the one on Zoe, maybe they were, like, trying to follow a lead, or something, and it was, like, a dead end, but maybe they're constantly searching for the road poneglyphs, right? And so maybe every few years, they get some new intel, like, hey, we heard that there's a road poneglyph, on this island, and Kaido's like, all right, man, let's go, and he just, like, you know, goes out to raid, and, you know, comes back a few months later, a few weeks later, just like, well, we couldn't find it, but whatever, better luck next time. So Yamato, though, does say, you know, father is away on a trip, on an expedition, and so Ace is like, father? And of course, everybody in Ace's crew, this is where we see Mihar and Hublot and, Kotatsu. Kotatsu is the cat, the giant saber cat that Ace has on his crew, because they rescued him from, like a trap, like an animal trap. Ace freed him, and then he just palled around with them, right? And so they're all like, oh, that must be Kaido's daughter? Kaido has a daughter? And Yamato doesn't say anything to them, but I would have found it funny if Yamato was like, oh, no. Yeah, I'm actually Kozuki Odin. And everyone would be like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. What? You know, but it doesn't really go. This isn't really a funny kind of moment. This isn't like oh, I'm actually Kozuki Odin. What? No, this is kind of a serious moment where Ace and Yamato are clashing and there's fire everywhere, and we zoom out in the festival hall and there's just this massive battle that just went down. It's freaking crazy. So Ace notices the cuffs on Yamato's wrists and notices kind of what's kind of like clicks two and two together to see what's going on here. And Yamato says, you know, I've been bored, so I guess I'll fight you. And then they begin to clash anew, and everyone's like, no, seriously, Captain Ace, we should probably just get out of here, right? Like, our goal here was to rescue the kids. And Mihar, and we see Skull there, Skull's in the background. They show up and they have the kids that were rescued from Onigashima, and like, dude, Captain Ace, we have the kids, let's get out of here. I consider it a stroke of luck that Kaido wasn't here. We should just bail, right? And so Ace isn't exactly, I mean, he's happy to rescue the kids, but at the same time, he's like, you know, I can't believe that, you know, Kaido isn't here, and I can't believe that someone as strong as you, Yamato, isn't even a captain, or, you know, like, so something else is going on here, and they clash, and as they clash, Ace kind of, like, understands what's going on here and says, Yamato, we cannot choose our fathers, even though he restrained you with the cuffs and he's keeping you here. Don't let him restrain your heart or your soul. Boom, boom, and they clash again, and big shockwaves go off, right? And so, of course, Ace's father is Roger, and Ace doesn't care for Roger very much. Like, his entire childhood was all about people bad-talking Roger, and he's like, man, I can't believe that Goldie Roger. He started the whole pirate era. Man, can you believe if that guy had a kid? Yeah, I couldn't believe that. That kid would be like the devil child or something. No, that's Nico Robin. Right. Well, he would be some kind of demon child, certainly. Man, I wouldn't want to be that kid. And meanwhile, Ace is, like, sitting, like, right there in the bar, like, listening to everything at, like, age 10, and he's like, grumble, you know, it's like, kid, what are you grumbling about? It's not like your dad's Roger or anything. Grumble. Actually, and you know what? It wasn't even just anger Ace felt back then. It was also a lot of sadness. Remember that scene where Ace was crying to Garp, and, you know, they were outside, and Garp was, like, listening to Ace, and Ace was like, Should I have ever been born? And Ace is like a kid at this point, and Garp is just kind of like, no, you should have been born. You're right to exist in this world. Just because your father was Roger, don't think of it like you shouldn't have been born or something like that. And so Ace really understands this, and of course, Yamato's father is Kaido, one of the Yonko, and so that's what Ace kind of sees. It's just like, we don't get to choose our parents, you know, but we just have to make the best of it, really, honestly. And so there's a scene where we now cut to where we see the Torii Gate leading into Onigashima, where the giant dragon we saw last chapter, we saw that golden, I assume it's golden. I know it's a manga, we really can't tell, but considering it was supposed to be in so much opulence, and even the rest of the members, this is where Babanuki shows up, the other members of Kaido's crew are kind of like, Master Yamato, you can't break that, that's a symbol of Kaido's mighty power as a dragon! Is Kaido really a dragon, though? Find out at the end of this chapter. But anyway, so it's like a Torii Gate leading into Onigashima, and the dragon statue is like wrapped around it, so anybody that enters Onigashima sees this giant dragon. I'm assuming it's gold, because Wano used to be called the country of gold, and giant golden dragon, you know, staring at you. That's rather imposing. But Yamato just takes the Kanabo and just bam! Just beheads the damn dragon right there, and then Ace, for good measure, walks up and just boom! Just punches it and melts the side of it, and that's where we see it in the current state of things, right? And this is where Yamato and Ace kind of become friends, and Yamato states, you know, I want to go out to sea, I want to see the world with the sea, and I am Kozuki Oden, and I will have a grand adventure just like he did, all that kind of stuff, right? And so Ace kind of smiles and smirks and just like, ha ha, yeah, that's cool, there you go, you know, tear off the shackles of your heart, or whatever. And so now we just cut to Ace and Yamato hanging out outside of Onigashima, I guess, or maybe somewhere else in Wano. I think this is still in Onigashima. It's nighttime, and they're just having drinks together and just sharing stories and talking about, like, the world and everything. Obviously, Yamato wouldn't be quite as isolated as the rest of Wano, where the citizens of Wano have, like, no idea what's going on in the outside world. Yamato would at least know a little bit, because of Kaido and the Beast Pirates always going back and forth with expeditions. But in any case, Yamato asks Ace, like, oh, what's going on in the world right now? Are there any big names in the world? Anybody, you know causing a storm in the world? I want to know. And Ace is like, let's see, big names in the world. Well, there's this Cavan person, somebody, I don't know. Hey, Skull, who am I talking about? I think it's Cavendish? No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. I think his name's just Cavan. All right, his name's Cavan. His name's Calvin. Yeah, there's this Calvin guy somewhere. Apparently, he's making a big wave in the New World or something. So yeah, this is of course Cavendish. And the reason, remember, Cavendish was so pissed off during Dressrosa was because he was part of the worst generation. Like, he was the generation before Luffy, or like a year or two before Luffy arrived at the Sabaody Archipelago with the worst generation. That was like Cavendish's generation. And they were making big waves and everything. And then as soon as the worst generation happened, though, everybody kind of forgot about Cavendish. Everyone was just like, oh, well, yeah, Cavendish, whatever, that's great. Holy crap, Kid and Law and Beiji and Bonnie and Arouge. Have you seen Arouge? He's got giant muscles. Cavendish is just off to the side like, well, I have a sword. Oh my god, and Blackbeard is part of the worst generation too. Yeah, but I have a horse. Yeah, Drake. Have you seen Drake? He can turn into a damn dinosaur. Everyone's like, just, and of course, Luffy and Zoro, I mean, come on, right? So Cavendish is just like, grumble, 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 you know, and so that's funny that Ace barely even remembers his name, even back when he was supposed to be famous, right? Ace also brings up Kid from the south, Beiji from the west, and Law from the north. Okay, so that also implies that, like, you know, keep in mind, this is very well before Luffy even left Fuchsia Village. Like, Luffy would still be like 16 years old, I think at the latest, still training at Fuchsia on Dawn Island, right? And so that means Kid and Law and Beiji were already on the seas, probably already on the Grand Line, making big waves. It just took them a little bit longer to get to Sabaody than Luffy did. Actually, you know what? The way that I'm reading this now, I think it might be possible possible that none of these pirates that Ace mentions, like Law, Kid, and Beiji, I don't know if they're necessarily in the Grand Line yet. I think Ace is just saying, like, oh, Beiji is apparently this really big name in the West, and Law is the really big name in the North, and they're starting to make waves there, but they haven't arrived at the Grand Line yet, because this is a few years prior. So I understand this. So it would still be like a year out from, like, Kid meeting Luffy at Sabaody, right? So there's still, like, at least a year, maybe even more than that, to go. So, yeah, if it took Luffy and the Straw Hats less than a year to go from the Twin Capes to Sabaody, I can't imagine it would take, you know, Law, Beiji, and Kid much longer than that, or about the same amount. So, yeah, I'm thinking that's probably what Ace meant. But Ace, of course, says, he's like, he has the bottle of booze, and he's like, well, those are all big names, and that's all well and good. But the one that's going to be bigger than all of them is from the East Blue, where I'm from. Technically, Ace is from the South, but, you know, like, I'm from the East. My little brother, he's going to be making his appearance pretty soon, too. He's going to be showing up in about a year or so. Glug, glug, glug. He's going to be bigger than everyone else, you know. So of course Ace really loves Luffy, and and this is of course where Yamato hears about Luffy for the first time and everything, and you know, he's sure to stir up a storm unlike anyone else before him, right? I mean, I'm still gonna be pretty awesome, but yeah. And so that's kind of where the flashback ends right there, and then we cut back to the kind of maintenance shed outside of Onigashima. Out back behind Onigashima, you got the maintenance shed where you have Yamato and Momonosuke and Shinobu all, like, you know, seeking refuge, and that's where they saw the giant dragon that they've yet to repair yet, and you know, Yamato is telling them this story. It's also here that Yamato, like, this is the first time that Shinobu and Momonosuke are hearing Yamato's dad is Kaido. So they're all like, wait, go back, your father's Kaido, what? And then Yamato's, now it's kind of getting back into the comedic moment, like, I told you already, I'm Kozuki Oden, it's cool, I hate my dad. And they're just like, oh, right, I'm not really sure, would you just get over here? And so Yamato says, you know, the thing that Ace always said was, okay, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go away, but I'm going to come back someday. I'm going to come back here, and this will serve as a warning, as an omen for Kaido. And Yamato wraps this up by saying that, yeah, when Kaido did finally return from his expedition, and he saw that his dragon statue was beheaded and melted, he was pissed. He was rightfully pissed. You know, Ace just walked into his freaking house and wrecked his stuff. I mean, come on! But they never met. Ace and Kaido, of course, never met. They never clashed. And I'm imagining Kaido, I mean, there's a lot of things that probably piss off Kaido in the world, right? So there's probably a lot of people on his hit list. He shows back up and he sees the statue and he just adds another name to the list. He's just like, who did this? Porcus D. Ace. King? Add him to the list. You know, I was like, all right. He just pulls out this giant freaking, okay, oh man. Man, this thing is long. Yeah, I know, I've been meaning to get to it every now and then, but I'm a busy guy. I got drinking to do. By the way, Queen, give me my drinks. All right. He's like, all right, here we go. Porcus, is that with an S or a Z? I don't care. All right. Porcus D. Ace. All right, he's on the list. All right, cool. We'll get to him someday. And so, you know, it's not like Kaido's not going to take a whole freaking fleet and go look for Ace. I mean, he had other stuff to do. But, yeah, and at that point, Ace, I mean, he was considered a warlord. He was rising in popularity in the world. People knew who he was. But I just don't think Kaido felt like it was, you know, I mean, if he ever comes back here, I'll beat his ass. But, you know, I'm not going out to look for him. You know, I got other stuff to do, right? And so that's that. And now we cut over to a brief scene with Tama and Nami on top of the Koma Inu. And this is also a parallel moment later on in the chapter. This is kind of like a double, like, face fault moment where Tama finds out from Nami that Luffy is Ace's brother, because she didn't know that previously. And Momo, at the same time, also finds out that Ace is Roger's son. And so we kind of have a face fault at the same time, which is kind of funny, between Momo and Tama that are like, what? Ace is Luffy's brother? What? Roger is Ace's dad? You know, at the same time, it's like a crazy thing that they find out. But at any rate there, we now cut over back to the festival hall where everything is going on, complete chaos. We don't even really get caught up with Chopper yet. Like, Chopper and the Minks working together to make the antibody. We still don't know that yet. But we do know Marco is being involved here, and he's using his fire and everything. And then Marco turns into the full Phoenix, and he tells Brook and Robin run into the castle, and then he's gonna take Zoro like straight up. So I don't think he's going to take Brook and Robin and Zoro all at the same time. If that's what I thought that was something that was going to happen, because I think that Marco could have been able to do that. But at any rate, Brook and Robin have to run off, which is fine, because I think there's other fights that Brook and Robin can help out with. Robin could help out with Sanji. Brook can maybe help out with, I don't know, Jinbei or somebody. So that could definitely work. We definitely want to see Zoro get to the roof. It would be so crazy if Zoro was the first person to make it there. Nobody else. Because in this chapter later on, we see Kaido and Big Mom just chilling out, just having a conversation on the roof. So I'm guessing all of the scabbeds are knocked unconscious at the moment. They can no longer fight. And the minks are also taken care of. So it's just like Kaido taking a breather. So he's just in there. He's just at the top of the roof, just drinking with Big Mom. And then just one lone warrior, Zoro, appears. Like, all right, first one here. Let's do this before the others show up. So that would be cool. But Marco grabs Zoro and begins to lift him up to the sky. That wasn't a song I was quoting. I just came up with that off the top of my head. I mean, there's a lot of songs. That's probably a quote somewhere. Anyway, using the magic of the Phoenix Fruit, lifts him up straight up into the roof. Of course, we have Queen and King there that are also going to stop them. Before we get to that, though, we have another flashback. This time, a flashback a couple of months, I would assume, after Ace met Yamato and had the whole clash in Onigashima and the whole declaration of, like, I will come back, and this is a warning for Kaido. Ace is now a member of Whitebeard's crew properly. He has the tattoo, so they're all on good terms with each other. And this is the moment where I think a lot of people were curious, why did Whitebeard not, in the 20 years that Odin was dead, try to go to Wano and try to avenge him, try to defeat Kaido? Why didn't that happen? Of course, Whitebeard is a Yonko, Kaido is a Yonko. It wouldn't be an easy fight. It wouldn't be just walk in there and just avenge Odin. But Whitebeard's got his freaking power. He's got the Gura Gura no Mi, got his whole crew backing him, all the division commanders, plus all of the ally crews. Kaido has all that stuff too. He has ally crews as well that can help him out. It would be a hard-fought battle, but Whitebeard is always somebody that cares about his family, and if someone, like we saw with Ace, Ace got captured by the Marines, Whitebeard rolled up to Marineford. That wasn't going to be like an easy thing to do, right? So what happened? Okay. So Marco's actually reminiscing about this. So this is through Marco's perspective, keep in mind. Marco's flying up and he's remembering. So Ace asks Whitebeard, hey, Pops, we gotta go to Wano. I told them I would be back someday. I told Yamato, I told Tama that I would return someday and I would help them out. We gotta go. And Whitebeard's just like, I told you, no! And he's like, do you remember, I told you countless times that the former 2nd Division commander that you now hold, Ace, the position that you hold, used to be held by Kozuki Odin. And Odin was super powerful and super strong, and even he couldn't best Kaido, right? We have Izo on the crew at this point, 16th Division Commander, and Izo says, honestly, Ace, we did not find out about Odin's death until several years after the fact. Now, that makes sense because of how isolated Wano was. I didn't think they would find out, like, the next day, but, Whitebeard is a Yonko. He has this massive crew and, like, information network. I mean, I thought it was, it would have been absurd for him not to know about this in 20 years, right? So they did find out, but it was just, we don't get an exact number of years. I hate that word, several. Damn you, Izo. How'd you have to say several? Why couldn't have said, yeah, we didn't find out until exactly 3 years and 10 months and 14 days after the fact. That would have been more accurate. But anyway, Izo's like, yeah, it was a few years after Odin died. I'm going to assume maybe at the latest, let's say, 5 years? 5 years maybe at the most. Odin died 20 years ago, so let's say maybe 15 years ago, that's when Whitebeard found out. Maybe something like that. Might have been a little bit less than that, might have been a little bit more, but I'm just going to say 5 years right now. Any more than that, and I find it kind of ridiculous that it took that long for the news to reach their ears. And then Marco adds on to this. Marco, chewing on a pineapple, he's just eating the pineapple whole, too. He's not even, like, chopping up the pineapple, because I don't know if you've ever tried to try eating a pineapple whole. Like, actually don't, because you'll get hurt. Don't. But yeah, Marco's just sitting there just munching, just eating a pineapple, and he's chilling out there, and he's like, we've thought plenty of times about launching a counteroffensive on Wano or going into Wano and avenging Odin. Like, it's definitely crossed our minds before, but can you imagine the sheer number of casualties that would rot, that would bring? I mean, it's hard to do, Ace. We can't just charge in there. And so Ace is like, all right. By the way, I'll get back to that line in a second, but Ace is like, I'm just going to finish the rest of the flashback first. Ace is like, well, okay, well, if you don't want to send the whole crew, then just send me. I'll do it by myself. And then that's when Ace kind of gets, you know, Whitebeard doesn't like hit him, but Whitebeard takes out his Bicento, his Naginata, just like, you stupid kid. If Odin couldn't beat him, what do you think that you have a shot at beating Kaido, right? Haven't you heard the narrator? If it's one-on-one, Kaido wins. Ugh. Yeah, Ace, I'm sure you had no... I mean, honestly, yeah, there's no way Ace could have beaten Kaido one-on-one, but Whitebeard, though, I mean, that's maybe... I mean, Whitebeard's getting on in years, but this was a few years in the past. Maybe he would have been less sick at this point, before his disease really, really ramped up, you know, to the degree it was at Marineford. But anyway, yeah, we also have Blackbeard in the background, because remember, Blackbeard was still a member of Whitebeard's crew at this point. He was part of the 2nd Division, and he's just like, Zay-ha-ha! By the way, couldn't they tell he was evil just by the laugh? If somebody has a laughter style that starts with a Z, Zay-ha-ha-ha! Asaw, you just want to go after the big shots in the world, trying to take down Kaido. That's our commander for you, Zay-ha-ha-ha! I mean, he's like, you're evil. You're evil. Your laugh has a Z in it. You're so totally evil, you know? But anyway, yeah, that's kind of where the flashback ends. But we do have a moment where Izo and Marco are kind of like, well, tell you what, Ace. He kind of gets smacked down by Whitebeard, and he's like, gets knocked on the head, and Ace is on the ground like, damn it. And Izo and Marco kind of like get him up and kind of make him feel better. And they're like, tell you what, Ace, if Pops ever does give you the go-ahead to go to Wano and return and try to defeat Kaido, bring me along. You know, they both say that. Izo says, bring me along, and Marco's like, bring me along too. I'll help you out, but Pops has to give the order. Whitebeard never gave the order. And then that's the end of the flashback there. We cut back to the present where we see Marco as he's flying. He's like smiling in his Phoenix form, like remembering the past, but also crying at the same time. You see tears coming off of his Phoenix body, and they're falling down, and they're just like, Ace, I miss you, man. You were awesome. As he's like taking Zoro. And I think also at the same time, Marco is very optimistic for this battle. He's thinking, you know what? This is going to be it. This is Ace's dream to take down Kaido. And I think the Straw Hats, you know, Ace's brother Luffy, Zoro here, everybody working together. I think we're actually going to do this. And I think Marco is just happy that he's here helping him out too. You know? Okay. So let's talk about the reason why that Whitebeard did not go to Wano. The reason being, the best reason we have that Marco gives is it would have been too dangerous. There would have been too many casualties. And keep in mind, I don't think Marco is just referring to pirate casualties, like casualties on Whitebeard's side and Kaido's side. I think he might also be referring to the casualties of just like the civilians of the country. They might get wrapped up in this too, and they might die as well. I understand, Marco. I understand that would be a serious concern. You don't want like a lot of numbers. You don't want all of Whitebeard's crew to get wiped out, which, let's be straight up here, that could have very well been the situation. Like, 2 Yonkos clashing, who knows where that's going to go, right? It could have been a draw. It could be all of Whitebeard's crew is wiped out. Whitebeard could have died. It could have been all Kaido's crew wiped out, and Kaido could have died, right? Like, and if you got everybody involved, if you got all of Whitebeard's crew plus all of his allies together, and plus all of Kaido's allies together, like, that fight would have been insane. Like, all of Onigashima, possibly all of Wano could have been, like, just, you know, devastated by that, right? Like, it would have been a serious brawl. But I remind you all, and this is something that also resulted in a lot of casualties, and this is also not a guarantee this was going to work. When Ace was captured by the Marines, Whitebeard rolled up to Marine HQ, the home base of and they knew that all the admirals were going to be there, all the vice admirals were going to be there, every high-ranking Marine in the world was going to be there, Sengoku was going to be there, the warlords were going to be there, and Whitebeard still decided, you know what? They have my son. Lock in, Marco, we're doing this, you know? And they got all their allies together, and they all rolled up to Marineford, and you can't tell me that they didn't think, oh yeah, there's gonna be casualties here on both sides, and it's not even a guarantee that they were gonna win. I'm sure a lot of the Whitebeard pirates and their allies, they were thinking, man, this could be our last stand, but what a crazy last stand it could be, right? Now, there are a few differences between going after Kaido at Onigashima and Wano and going after Ace at Marineford. One of the most notable differences is that Ace was still alive when they went to go rescue him. That was very much a rescue mission. Get in, get Ace, get the hell out of there. Odin is already dead at this point. I think it would have been a very, very different scenario if Odin was not dead, but he was just captured. If the Whitebeard crew found out about it, like, 2-3 years after the fact, that Odin has been locked up in Kaido's dungeon on Onigashima, chained to a wall by sea prism, diamond, adamantium, vibranium chains, because that's the only thing that could hold Odin down. And he was being tortured, like Kaido was like torturing Odin on a daily basis, trying to get the information, like, he's like, you're gonna read these poneglyphs to me! And Odin's like, I'll never give in to you! And that was going on for years. Like, if they found out information about that, okay, then I think Whitebeard would have accepted the risk. He would have been like, that's my little brother. And they're keeping him captive, and they're torturing him, they're trying to get information out of him. Alright, Marco, Izo, Ace, we're doing this. I guess this would have been before Ace's time. This is like, Odin died 20 years ago. Let's say instead of dying 20 years ago, he was just captured 20 years ago and tortured. And then maybe 5 years later, that's when the Whitebeard crew found out about it. As soon as they found out about it, they would have went and rescued him. So that is a very different scenario, because here it's not about saving Odin. It would be about avenging his life. And trying to avenge his life, that would have been an admirable thing to do, but would have resulted in a lot of death. I still kind of have a little bit of a problem with this just because of all the years that went by. Let's say it was 5 years. Okay, so they had 15 years to really figure out. I guess not 15, because 20 years ago with the time skip, they would have had over a decade. Okay, let's just say that much. Like, the Whitebeard crew would have known about this for at least a decade. So in 10 years at least, maybe more, they never could come up with some sort of way to take down Kaido. With Whitebeard there, with all the division commanders, with all of their allies, with everything they know, with all the Devil Fruit powers and Haki, they could never figure out some way to maybe separate Kaido from his crew and take him out that way, or figure out some way to weaken their numbers, or figure out some way to sneak into Onigashima or sneak into Wano, like the Straw Hats did. The Straw Hats didn't just charge right into Onigashima. Kinemon had the whole plan. We're going to infiltrate the country first and find out about what's going on with everything. In 10 years, they never came up with any idea, anything to even try to attempt to do this. And I guess once again, it's just the stakes were really just too high. But I don't know. I feel like it makes sense. It's not a ridiculous thing to say. Like, yeah, we didn't want to do it because a lot of people would have died. We could all die. Whitebeard doesn't want his whole family to get wiped out. That could really have happened. Also could have happened at Marineford. It totally could have. The admirals could have slaughtered everybody. It's totally feasible. That could have happened too. I don't know. And it's also, I wanted to end it out with a caveat. I also wanted to say that maybe it was the reason that Whitebeard did not do anything to go and try to avenge Odin, why he did go to Marineford. So when they heard when Whitebeard heard that Ace got captured by Blackbeard and he was going to be executed by the Marines, I'm sure Whitebeard, as learned as he is, thought about it, and he was like, well, if we charge into Marineford, every single one of us could die. They're going to have the admirals, vice admirals, Sengoku's going to be there, the best tacticians in the world. Everybody's going to be there. We might not make it out of there alive, but I didn't go and help Wano when we found out Odin died. And I'm sure that was something that Whitebeard always regretted. Even if he thought maybe it was the better option to not risk it, he still probably felt, guilt about that. He wished he would have done something. And so he's like, because I didn't help Odin, or I didn't help Odin's country, and Ace wanted to help, and I told him no, I'm going to help Ace. There's going to be a big battle. It's going to shake the world. Everybody could die. All my children could die on this crew, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for Ace. That could also be the reason too. So yeah, just wanted to bring that up there, and I might even make a whole extra video about that. I don't know, like really breaking this down even further. I'm not sure, but at any rate, we now cut back to the hall, and Marco is still flying up at the exact same time as we could assume. King is there in his Pteranodon form, and then we have Queen transform into his Brachiosaur form, and Queen has guns inside of his mouth. Not sure how that works. It just turns into I'm a Brachiosaur! Brachio cannon! Like, is he a Megazord? Is he a Power Ranger? Like, boom, 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 boom! And they start firing shots at Marco, and King's there, and Marco is kind of like avoiding the attacks, and he actually gets hit a few times, but using the flames of regeneration, even getting bullet wounds while he's flying, it doesn't really slow him down at all. And Marco states, you know, this is the new generation you're facing now, and so he's kind of flying too, and using his Phoenix powers, as long as I guess it's not hockey bolts or like a hockey attack or anything, he'll be able to slip through and like, you know, stealthily move in between everybody and get to the roof. So we kind of leave it at that, but I'm thinking Marco is actually going to be able to make it to the roof and at least drop Zoro off alone, and then he might return to the battlefield and we'll see what happens there. Maybe he'll go up against King or something. But yeah, that was a really cool line from Marco, like, you know, the new generation is here, you can't stop him. And also the flashback with Ace and like shedding the tear, that was a nice touch there. Okay, then we get the scene I said earlier between Tama and Momo. It's like the face fault, it happens at the same time, like Ace's little brother, Roger's son, you know, so we get that. They find out about this. And Yamato just kind of says to Momonosuke, as they're all calmed down now. Shinobu, by the way, has regained consciousness, by the way. Shinobu was kind of knocked out for a while, but she's back in action. And so Yamato is kind of just saying to Momo, like, you know what, Momo? There are more pirates out there than stars in the sky, and it's just so damn convenient that out of all of them, all of the pirates you could have ran into, and you could have led them to Wano, you ran into Luffy. And Yamato takes out Odin's log journal, the Bible, and that's just the Bible in One Piece now, Odin's log journal. And Yamato also states, you know, you happen to find somebody that had a D in the middle of their name. A D in the middle of their name. And so Yamato just kind of looks down affectionately at the logbook, the Bible, and that's where we leave it there. And of course, in the logbook, Odin would have talked about Joy Boy and the Will of D. And can we get a copy of that logbook, Yamato? Can you like Xerox that thing and just give me a copy? I would love to read that. But yeah, of course. And so Odin goes on and on about the Will of D. There's always been a debate, by the way, also, even if like Odin had the Will of D. And obviously, it was never stated he has the Will of D, but maybe like the Will of D is something beyond just the name. Like can you bear the Will of D without actually carrying the initial? And I think you can. I don't think the Will of D is just, well, you have to have it in your name. Maybe the tradition in Wano was not like middle names or middle initials. That wasn't a thing in Wano. You are Odin Kozuki, or Kozuki Sukiyaki, or Orochi Kurozumi, or Kanjuro Kurozumi. There's no such thing as like middle initials. That's not in the culture. But Odin still died with a smile on his face, and I feel like Odin definitely had the Will of D. Even if he didn't actually have the initial, he had the Will of D. Right? And I think when Yamato looks down at the logbook, yeah, I think that's supposed to indicate that there is a connection there, right? All right. So then we have the last scene of the chapter. Woo! The last scene of the last chapter of 2020, and the last scene of the last chapter that's triple digits. We were triple digits chapters ever since the early 2000s, ever since chapter 100 came out. I don't know. Oh, hold on. I'm going to look that up right now. I just did a video about that the other day, but I forgot when. I didn't actually look up when chapter 100 came out. Hold on a second here. Holy crap. Okay, so chapter 100 came out in August of 1999. I was 6. I was in first grade. I liked first grade. That was fun. That's where I also learned how to use like a computer. Like we had these old Macintoshes. Mrs. Barbario's class. Yeah, that was fun. But no, chapter 100, August 1999. This has been 21 years of triple digit chapters, finally hitting quadruple digits. Boom! So last scene of the chapter, Kaido and Big Mom atop Onigashima. just rubble everywhere from the massive battle that went down. We don't really see the scabbards anywhere, guys. I'm sure they're strewn about in the debris and in the rocks and rubble, but we don't see them. Kaido's just taking a breather, you know, slugging back some sake. And meanwhile, Zeus and Prometheus are kind of getting charged up. Zeus is absorbing all the electricity from the sky, and Zeus, I guess, might be maybe Kaido's like flames or something. Prometheus is eating the flames, and so they're getting powered up there. And then they're up there just waiting for the Straw Hats because they know the Straw Hats are going to arrive at the roof at some point, so might as well not even leave. And Kaido is just sitting there drinking, and Big Mom's like, Mama, when do the Straw Hats arrive? I don't care how many you kill, Kaido, but leave Nico Robin alone, because Nico Robin can read poneglyphs. And Kaido's like, well, don't you have that third three-eyed girl in your crew? Can't she read these things? And Big Mom's like, oh, Pudding, yeah, I can't wait for her true eye to awaken any longer. I'm very impatient. I've been waiting so long. She's, Pudding 16, right? Yeah, so he's like, I've been waiting 16 years. I can't wait any longer. She's useless. She doesn't say she's useless, but she's like, I can't wait around for her true power to awaken, if it ever even will awaken. So, yeah. And then Big Mom brings up, like, the million-dollar question, like, hey, where are you going to drop down this castle? Is it near the road, Poneglyph? And Kaido's like, you don't even mince words. Can you at least try to act like you're not just after that? You know? Like, it's like, Kaido knows. I know you just want my road, Poneglyph, right? But Kaido mentions, well, I'm going to drop this island, the entire island. I'm just going to drop it right on the Kozuki Castle, because that's still, even though Orochi had it for the last 20 years, that is still a symbol of the Kozuki clan, and he just wants to crush the whole thing in one fellow swoop. And Big Mom's like, well, if you do that, a lot of people are gonna die. And Kaido's like, whatever, we'll get more people. They're a dime a dozen, really. They're all over the place, you know. And so they're talking about that. And then we have the big moment where Big Mom's like, don't belittle me! I've always thought of you as a little brother to me. Remember that one time at God Valley when Captain Rocks fell into ruin and I gave you the mythical fish fruit? Yes, let's recall that, shall we? And so we don't get a flashback of that yet. We might get it next chapter. Instead, the chapter just ends out with Kaido being like, yeah, I know. Tell you what, whatever. We'll talk about that later, after we've acquired the One Piece. And they say it together, the One Piece, mama. And then end of chapter. Boom. Break next week, of course, for the winter holidays. And then Chapter 1000 will be out January 4th, 2021. So, Kaido's a fish. Man, I really should have just ran with that instead of the duck thing. All right. So, if you look at Kaido here, he's covered in what? He's covered in scales, okay? Now, what else has scales? That's right, fish. Now, hold your horses. You might be saying, oh, so Kaido's a fish. No, he's not a fish. Damn it! I had it! I had the ball! It was like the fourth quarter of the game! There was no one around me! I had a clear shot to the end zone! 5 seconds left! I'm like, I'm running with the ball! And then I fumble it, drop it, it bounces all the way to the end of the freaking football field. The opposite team grabs it in the end zone. Touchdown for the other team. I had it! And I lost it! By the way, yeah, that was not me being a prophet or anything. I was just joking around. It was an April Fool's video I did. Like, Kaido's not a dragon. He's a fish. No, he's a deer. No, he's a duck. You know what? I'm not upset. I'm not mad. At least there is a video of me saying that he was a fish. So there you go. At least I have that much. And you know what? Duck is funnier. Duck is just funnier. Objectively, I'm sorry. I'm glad I went with duck. I'm glad I stuck with the duck, you know, because there's so many memes that came out of it, and I just think it works better than Kaido is a carp or a fish or whatever. I've seen a lot of memes this week of comparing Kaido to like a Gyarados, you know, a Magikarp, Gyarados, you know, like a mythical fish. And we'll be diving into this. This is a separate video topic, by the way, just letting you know off the gate. But Kaido doesn't have, so first off, he has a fruit. He has a devil fruit. Okay. So that kind of throws the whole he was originally a dragon theory out of the window, and just dragons have the ability to transform. That still kind of cues up some interesting things, though, about Yamato, because Yamato had the fangs. I'm guessing Yamato could also just have some kind of devil fruit, mythical zone or something, so, you know, I guess that makes sense too, but I was kind of hoping Kaido would have been a dragon from birth, right? But that's clearly not the case. So at God Valley, something went down. I'm assuming maybe Kaido in his younger years, he was like a teenager at this point, Kaido was about to die or something, and then Big Mom gave him the fruit to maybe survive and get out of there, and then Kaido took the power of that fruit, and not only did he survive God Valley and get away, he also became one of the absolute strongest pirates in the entire world, one of the Yonko, the highest bounty in the entire world, and that was all because of Big Mom. The way that she phrases this, and by the way, this was the lifetime debt. That was the debt. Remember that it was mentioned? That's a lifetime debt, Kaido. You know, people thought maybe one of like Big Mom's kids, like Katakuri, were you know, Kaido's son, or maybe Yamato was, you know, also, and then, you know, like Big Mom was the mother. You know, people thought it was something like that, but no, it was this. So I want you to picture this. At least this is the way I'm envisioning this. They're at God Valley. Things are going to crap. Rox is apparently dead. Roger and Carp are just raiding the place. Whitebeard's there fighting Captain John, Silver Axe, Wang Ji. I don't always have to yell the name. Wang Ji was there. And they're all fighting. It's all chaos. You know, Kaido, an apprentice pirate at this time, he's on the ground bleeding out or something. He's about to get sucked into the crevice, or he's about to die. And Big Mom, in her 30s at this point, like age 28 or whatever, was like, here, take this, and gives him the mythical fruit. And he eats it, and he's able to turn into a dragon to fly away and escape the island and escape the wreckage. And then, you know, cut to a few decades later, and he's one of the strongest pirates in the world because of Big Mom giving him the fruit. You know, Big Mom is like, man, I shouldn't have given him that fruit. I should have just let him die. You know, then I would have one less person to fight against for the damn... I shouldn't have done that, you know, and so that's interesting right there. But I will be making a separate video about that, getting more maybe into the mythology behind it. I do know that there is a story in Japanese myth of a bunch of koi fish that there's like a bunch of koi fish going up a waterfall, similar to the story of how you enter Wano. You go up the waterfall with the koi fish, how the Straw Hats managed to get up. And one of those koi fish struggling against the water, all the other fish begin to fall back down, like they can never make it to the top. But the one koi fish that tried harder than the other koi fish didn't just manage to get to the top, but also turned into a dragon along the way. That is the origin, I believe, to Magikarp. Why Gyarados is not a dragon type, Gyarados is a water flying type. That's the story. You take a regular carp or a koi, and then it just pushes itself really hard, learns tackle level 15, and balance. When does Magikarp learn bounce? I forget which level. I know level 15 is tackle, and then it just goes up, and then boom, Gyarados, or then boom, Kaido, boom, dragon, boom, duck. So that's the story with that, but we'll go into more detail with that later. But that's chapter 999, guys. Oh man, so I will see you back here in 2 weeks. We'll be making plenty of videos along the way, though, to hype up for Chapter 1000. Do not worry about that. I also wanted to thank, once again, everybody that helped me out for the charity stream. This is the plaque that they sent me, St. Jude, last year for the charity stream. So I'll probably be getting another one this year. But yes, thanks to everybody that helped out, and it's a really great cause. Links are all below, of course. Barry, last chapter review of the year, Barry. Do you have anything to add? Just hope it's over with, the year. Yeah, that's just... 2020 hasn't been fun. Hasn't been fun. A lot of stuff that wasn't that great in 2020. So, I'm not even mad. I know Oda really wanted Chapter 1000 to be in 2020, but you know what? I'm kind of happy it isn't. I'm kind of glad that we're at least starting off 2021 with Chapter 1000. That's kind of like a good sign, right, Barry? That's a good sign, right? And we're just gonna, like, tiptoe our way through January, and like we just like open the door to January and we're like, okay, we're good, and just hope the ground doesn't fall apart into an endless chasm in front of us, right? So with that in mind, have a great holiday season, everybody. You'll see me before then. I'll be making videos. I'm making a pain video on Christmas, but you know, in terms of reviewing Tekking, see you back here next year, and I hope 2021 is a fantastic. This 2021 might be the finale to Wano, so just be. It might be. I don't know 100%, but we'll see. And we'll see what happens. Signing out, everybody.